So, Sarah, imagine we are in that glass-walled meeting room. It is 10:15 in the morning, the coffee is sitting on the table, and you are sitting across from a senior hiring manager. You feel prepared. You have practiced your introduction, you have practiced your strengths, but then the manager leans forward and asks you a question that sounds like another language. How would you describe your approach to cross-functional synergy in a high-stakes environment?
Mark, just hearing those words makes my heart start to race. Cross-functional synergy? High-stakes environment? If I'm a B1 learner, my brain is probably screaming right now. I know the word cross, I know the word functional, but put them together and my mind goes completely blank. I can feel the sweat on my forehead. I want to say something, anything, just to stop the silence.
That is exactly what most people do. They feel that silence is the enemy. They think if they do not answer within 1 second, the interview is over. So they do the most dangerous thing possible. They nod their head and say, "Yes, I agree, synergy is very important for me too." But Sarah, what happens next?
What happens next is a disaster, Mark. The interviewer thinks you understood the concept, so they ask a follow-up question. They might say, "Great, can you give me an example of a time you managed that synergy with the marketing department?" And now you are trapped. You do not know what you are agreeing to. You look like you are lying or like you are not actually listening. It is the fastest way to lose the trust of the person who wants to hire you.
It really is a trap, and that is why we are here today. We want to help you realize that the most professional thing you can do is not to pretend you know everything, but to know how to ask for help in English. If you can handle a misunderstanding with confidence, you actually look like a better communicator than someone who just has a perfect vocabulary. Before we dive into the exact phrases you need to save your interview, make sure you subscribe to Talk About It in English. We help you handle these real-life moments so you can stop studying grammar and start speaking about your life with confidence.
I love that, Mark, because the reality is even native speakers sometimes do not understand what someone means by cross-functional synergy. Corporate speak can be very confusing. So let's go back to that room. The manager has just asked the question. Instead of the panic, let's look at our first tool. We call this identifying the gap. Is it an acoustic gap or a concept gap?
That is an important distinction. An acoustic gap is when you simply did not hear the words. Maybe the manager spoke too fast, or there was a noise in the hallway. A concept gap is when you heard the words perfectly, but you have no idea what they mean in a business context. Let's start with the acoustic gap. Sarah, if I say something too quickly, what is the most natural way to ask me to repeat it without sounding like a beginner?
Many learners are taught to say, "Sorry, can you repeat?" But in a high-stakes interview, that can feel a bit short. A more professional way to handle an acoustic gap is to say, "I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that last part. Would you mind saying it once more?" This phrase is beautiful because it sounds polite and very natural. Let's try that together. "I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that last part. Would you mind saying it once more?"
I like how that sounds. It feels very smooth. When you say, "I didn't quite catch that," it implies that you caught most of it, but just missed a small piece. It makes you sound like a very capable listener who just needs a tiny bit of help. Let's try another version for when the interviewer is speaking at the speed of a professional race car. You could say, "Could you say that again a bit more slowly? I want to make sure I understand the question perfectly."
That word perfectly is a secret weapon, Mark. It tells the interviewer that you care about accuracy. You are not asking because you are bad at English. You are asking because you are a high-quality worker who does not want to make mistakes. Let's practice that one again. Could you say that again a bit more slowly? I want to make sure I understand the question perfectly. When you say this, keep your voice steady. Do not look embarrassed. Keep your eyes on the interviewer and smile slightly. It shows you are in control.
Exactly. But now let's look at the harder problem, the concept gap. This is our scene seed. The manager said cross-functional synergy. You heard the words, you know how to spell them, but you don't know what he wants from you. This is where we use the professional stall. Sarah, how do we buy ourselves 5 seconds to think?
This is my favorite technique. We use a phrase that acknowledges the question while our brain works in the background to find a solution. You can say, "That is a very interesting question. Let me just take a moment to gather my thoughts." While you are saying, "Let me just take a moment to gather my thoughts," your brain is actually scanning your memory for what synergy might mean. It's like a computer loading a program.
And the best part is, in a professional setting, taking a moment to think is seen as a strength. It shows you are thoughtful. It shows you do not just blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. Let's practice that stall together. Everyone listening, try to say this out loud with me. That is a very interesting question. Let me just take a moment to gather my thoughts. Feel the rhythm of that sentence. It is slow, it is deliberate, and it gives you power over the conversation.
It really does. Now, while you are gathering your thoughts, if you still don't know the word, you have to move to the next level. This is the definition request. But we don't say, what does synergy mean? That sounds like we are in a classroom. Instead, we use the rephrase technique. You can say, I want to make sure I am on the same page. When you say cross-functional synergy, are you referring to how different departments work together on a project?
I love that phrase, on the same page. It is a very common idiom in English offices. It means having the same understanding as the other person. By using it, you are showing that you know professional idioms, even if you don't know the specific jargon they just used. You are replacing their difficult jargon with your own natural idiom. It is a very clever move.
It is a power move, Mark. Let's break down that structure. I want to make sure I am on the same page. Then you ask, are you referring to? This allows you to take a guess. Even if your guess is wrong, the interviewer will correct you, and then you will know exactly how to answer. For example, the interviewer might say, no, I actually mean how we use software to connect our teams. Now you have the answer. You didn't have to guess. You just have to ask.
Let's practice that specific pattern. I want to make sure I am on the same page. Are you referring to how different departments work together? Say it with us. I want to make sure I am on the same page. Are you referring to how different departments work together? Notice how the voice goes up a little bit at the end of the question. It sounds curious, not confused.
That distinction between curious and confused is everything. If you look confused, they worry about your language skills. If you look curious, they admire your communication skills. Now, let's imagine the situation is even tougher. You have no idea what the word means. You cannot even guess. This is where you use the advanced rephrase. You can say, I'm not sure I follow. Could you rephrase that for me? I want to make sure I give you a precise answer.
There's that word again, precise. It is so helpful in an interview. When you say, I'm not sure I follow, it is a very sophisticated way of saying, I don't understand. It is much better than saying, what, or I don't know. It suggests that the logic of the question is complex and you want to be careful with it. Sarah, let's practice the intonation for, I'm not sure I follow.
It should be very neutral. Not too high, not too low. I'm not sure I follow. Could you rephrase that for me? I want to make sure I give you a precise answer. This shows that you are focused on the quality of your answer. Most interviewers will be happy to rephrase. They might say, oh, sure. I just mean how do you handle it when you have to work with the sales team and the tech team at the same time? Suddenly, the question is easy. You know how to talk about working with teams. The jargon was the only thing blocking you.
This is why we tell our students that English is a tool, not a test. The goal is to get the information you need so you can show who you are. If you are finding these phrases helpful, imagine having a new set of tools like this every week for every part of your life. That is why we want you to click that notification bell. We want to be in your ear every week, helping you build that confidence piece by piece.
We really do. So Mark, we have covered the acoustic gap, the professional stall, and the definition request. But what about the psychology of this? I know many of our listeners feel like they are failing if they have to ask a question. They feel like the interviewer is marking them down. How do we get past that feeling?
You have to remember what a manager is looking for. They are not looking for a dictionary. They are looking for a colleague. In a real job, if a manager gives you a confusing instruction and you just say yes and then do the wrong thing, you are a bad employee. You waste time and money. But if you stop the manager and say, I want to make sure I follow, could you clarify that last point? You are a great employee. You save the company from making mistakes. By asking for clarification in the interview, you are actually demonstrating that you will be a safe and effective person to work with. You are showing them your professional habits.
That is such a powerful way to look at it. You are not showing a lack of English. You are showing a high level of professional responsibility. Let's try to put this all together into a flow. I am going to be the manager again, and I want you to practice responding using the phrases we have learned. I will give you a moment after I speak to try it out loud. Ready? Here is the question. We are looking for someone who can leverage our existing assets to pivot into the digital space. What is your experience with that?
Okay, everyone, did you hear those words? Leverage, assets, pivot? If you don't know them, don't panic. Use the stall first. Tell me that it is an interesting question. Now ask me to rephrase it because you want to be precise. Try it now.
Hopefully you said something like, "That is a very interesting question. I want to make sure I give you a precise answer. Could you rephrase what you mean by leveraging assets in this context?" See how that works? You are using their words back to them. It makes you sound very engaged. Mark, let's talk about the word pivot. That is a very common word in interviews right now. If a learner hears that and doesn't know it, how can they ask about it specifically?
They can use the specific word check. They can say, I'm familiar with the term pivot in a general sense, but how does that look specifically here at this company? This is a brilliant strategy because you are admitting you know the word, but asking for the local meaning. Every company uses words differently. By asking how it looks here, you are showing that you understand that context matters.
I love that. How does that look specifically here? It is such a natural, flowing phrase. It moves the conversation from a test of your English to a deep dive into the company's culture. Let's practice that one. I'm familiar with the term, but how does that look specifically here? Again, notice the stress on specifically. It shows you are looking for details.
We should also talk about the physical side of this, Sarah. When we are nervous, our voices tend to get very high and very fast. Our breath stays in the top of our chest. When you are asking for clarification, it is very important to breathe deeply and lower the pitch of your voice. If you ask, could you rephrase that with a high, squeaky voice, you sound like a student. If you ask it with a low, calm voice, you sound like a consultant.
That is a great tip. Let's actually try to shadow that difference. First, let's do it the wrong way. The nervous way. Imagine your shoulders are up by your ears. Say, "Sorry, what do you mean?" It sounds small, doesn't it? Now drop your shoulders. Take a deep breath. Imagine you are the expert. Say, "I'm not sure I follow. Could you clarify that for me?" It feels completely different in your mouth and in your chest.
It really does. It gives you a sense of gravity, and that gravity is what wins job interviews. It is not just about the words you say, it is about the energy you bring to the room. When you are not afraid of a word you don't know, you are essentially telling the interviewer that you are not afraid of any challenge the job might throw at you. You are saying, I can handle the unknown.
This is why we call this the safety net. A safety net isn't something you want to use, but knowing it is there allows you to perform better. If you know you have these phrases in your pocket, you will actually be less nervous, which means you will probably understand more of the interview anyway. It is a win-win situation.
So let's move into our next section, which is the shadowing exercise. We are going to go through a series of short exchanges. I will be the interviewer, and Sarah will be the candidate. We want you to listen to the tone Sarah uses and then repeat the phrase after her. We will do each one twice. Sarah, are you ready to show them how it's done?
I am ready. Let's help everyone get these phrases into their mouths so they stay there when they need them.
Okay, scenario 1. The interviewer is speaking too fast. I say, our quarterly expectations are predicated on a multi-channel approach to consumer engagement. Sarah, go.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that last part. Would you mind saying it once more? Now you try it at home. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that last part. Would you mind saying it once more?
Scenario 2. The interviewer uses a word you don't know. I say, we need someone who can manage the bandwidth of our remote teams. Sarah, go.
I want to make sure I am on the same page. When you say bandwidth, are you referring to the time the team has available for new tasks? Now you try. I want to make sure I am on the same page. When you say bandwidth, are you referring to the time the team has available for new tasks?
Scenario 3. You are completely lost and need a full rephrase. I say, the synergy of our stakeholder interests is paramount to our scalability. Sarah, go.
I am not sure I follow. Could you rephrase that for me? I want to make sure I give you a precise answer. Your turn. I am not sure I follow. Could you rephrase that for me? I want to make sure I give you a precise answer.
That was excellent. I hope everyone listening felt the change in their own confidence as they said those words. Remember, your mouth has a memory. If you say these phrases 50 times today, your mouth will remember them even when your brain is panicking during an interview. It is like training for a sport. You don't want to think about your feet when you are running. You just want them to move.
That is so true, Mark. And speaking of training, we have reached the part of the video I always look forward to, the blind challenge. I am going to play the role of a very corporate, very confusing manager. I am going to throw a sentence at you that is full of difficult English. I want you to use one of the phrases we learned today to respond to me. Don't worry about being perfect. Just speak out loud to your screen or your phone. Are you ready?
I'm ready to hear this corporate jargon, Sarah. Give them your worst.
Here we go. Looking at our roadmap, we need to optimize our internal workflows to ensure we are not siloing information across different verticals. Do you have experience with avoiding information silos?
Okay, everyone, that was a lot. Roadmap, optimize, siloing, verticals? Don't try to answer the question yet. Just use your safety net. Choose one phrase. Stall for time or ask for a rephrase. Go ahead, speak now.
That was a tough one. If you said, "That is a very interesting question. Let me just take a moment to gather my thoughts," you did great. If you said, "I'm not sure I follow. Could you rephrase what you mean by information silos?" You did even better. The goal here wasn't to understand me, it was to manage me. And that is what these phrases do. They allow you to manage the conversation.
It is all about leadership. Even as a candidate, you can lead the conversation toward clarity. Think about how much more impressed that manager would be with someone who says, "I want to make sure I give you a precise answer. Could you clarify that?" Compared to someone who just sits there in silence or gives a generic answer that doesn't make sense. It really sets you apart.
It really does. And this isn't just for interviews, is it, Mark? You can use these phrases with your boss, with your clients, or even with your friends if they're explaining something complicated. These are life skills that happen to be very useful for English learners.
Absolutely. I use these phrases in my native language all the time. If a lawyer or a doctor starts using jargon I don't know, I don't just nod. I say, "I want to make sure I'm on the same page. What does that mean for me?" It is a sign of intelligence to ask for clarity. Never forget that.
So, we have covered a lot today. We have moved from the panic of the meeting room to having a full toolkit of professional English phrases. We have practiced our intonation, and we've learned the psychology of being a proactive communicator. Mark, what is the one thing you want people to do after they finish watching this?
I want you to do the phone test. It's very simple. Open the voice recorder on your phone. Imagine I have just asked you a very difficult question about cross-functional synergy. Record yourself using the 3 phrases we practiced. Listen back to your voice. Do you sound nervous? Do you sound like you're apologizing? Or do you sound like a professional who is in control? Keep recording until you like the way you sound.
That is a great challenge. And if you found this helpful, it's just the beginning. Our channel is designed to take you through every scene of your life, from talking about your job to describing your weekend plans or solving problems at the doctor. Each video is a new tool for your toolkit. If you want to keep building that confidence, hit the subscribe button and join our community. We are here every week to make sure your English stays in your mouth, not just in your head.
We are so proud of the progress you are making. One topic at a time, one phrase at a time. You are becoming the person who can talk about their life with confidence. Don't let the big words scare you. You have the safety net now. Go out there and use it. We'll see you in the next lesson to talk about something new.
Keep practicing, keep speaking, and remember that every time you ask for clarification, you are becoming a better communicator. You've got this. We'll see you next time.